आपका आंसर राइटिंग के लिए। हाँ हाँ मॉडल आंसर, but basically it's not about what I was talking about is not model answer for you, like if you can write, because this I had done in when I was preparing, so that time I was not appearing for the mains, pre नहीं निकला था, but मेरे साथ वाले का निकला था, उसका फिलोसफी था। तो जिस दिन परीक्षा हुई थी उसके दूसरे दिन मैंने खुद बैठ के दोनों लिखे थे, as if it's my examination, it helps anyway. So let's start. So okay, or we'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes if in case somebody comes. Okay, anyway, now we'll start. People will join, or most of them will watch it later only anyway. So good afternoon everyone, and as I said in the morning also, if you have any question you can ask, and we are not going to discuss in detail the syllabus ka detail points obviously. Second, those questions which are very direct, you know, will not discuss much about it. Main thing is, as I said, to understand especially what kind of paper it was, as in, you know, the broad idea as to easy, difficult, moderate. Paper, as we talked in the morning, Indian part was very easy. Most of the students would have attempted for that, as compared to Western. Same is the case here. Religion is very easy as compared to socio-political. Now again, difficult in paper 2. See, the point here is, when we say something is difficult in philosophy paper 2, especially socio-political, it's not about some difficulty as in difficulty in writing answer, difficulty in gathering content. Problem happens when as to what not to write, how to prevent yourself from writing GS type answer, how to, I'm saying prevent as in it's not a crime, yes, but that's not what is expected from you. Yes, good afternoon. So that is the thing you need to work upon for the paper 2. How to do it? Main thing what we are going to discuss is the demand. What exactly is being asked? In what direction they are asking you to write? That direction certainly we will discuss. Obviously, in that direction you go back and see the notes, you will find the answer. Otherwise, what happens? The perspective, especially paper 2, it seems that all the questions are nothing but like small essays. ऐसा लगता है कि ऐसे ही है ये तो, but no. In fact, one of the questions says, did you see the questions? Write an essay on, I forgot the question, but the wording used, I was like, they themselves are using the word essay, because the word essay means something else. Essay inherently means there is no technical knowledge required. The very meaning of the word essay is to attempt. Okay, essay means is to attempt, means it is inherently, that's the difference between essay, synopsis, thesis, article. There is a difference. Why? Essay means somebody who does not have very technical knowledge. Whatever knowledge you have, are you able to write? That is the quality checked there. So in essay, the writer's flow of thinking is important, more important than the topic to be discussed. Maybe it might be a very simple thoughts, because you may not have enough knowledge of it, detailed technical knowledge of it. Still you will get good marks in essay, and this I am talking about our essay also, essay paper. Now that we are talking about essays, I am just adding those points. So essay basically means it is not expected, your starting point is expected to be a simple general knowledge person who is trying to write something, but what way you are writing is what you will get marks for, not what all things you can dump into it. Ye theory, wo theory, that doesn't give much marks in essay. Anyway, coming back to our point, but in paper of philosophy, because it's a technical paper, it is always advised to try to stick to philosophical approach, as in technical one, technical way. Okay. Now, this is the question. Now, discuss the role of Enlightenment movement in the rise of humanism. Now, this we had discussed, if you remember in the class, what is the connection of humanism has with Enlightenment thinkers, especially Kant. Like, okay, what is humanism? Yes. So, shift from God centric to human centric, anthropocentric. Means what? All the basic things that happens in your life and society's life are human centric, coming from human, derived by human, justified by human thinking and all that, not by some God. Okay. Like for example, any scientific fact also, like for example, why rain happens. So, it is not because of the God. Our thinking have told us it's because of so many, the process of, the whole natural process happening, the water getting evaporated into forming itself into clouds and things like that. So, and that who gave that? Somebody who believed, who focused on thinking. So, basically humanism, the concept of humanism is coming from reason. And in this context, in this particular question, you give example of, and this we had talked about, Kant talked about, now you know Kant. Why Kant especially? Because he is considered to be Enlightenment thinkers, one of the Enlightenment thinkers, and he talked about what? Categories of understanding. We already know that as a philosophy student. And according to Kant also, what is God? One of the transcendental illusions. So, basically speaking, it is our mind, our transcendental capacity, our internal makeup, which forces us, compels us to kind of think about or believe in God. So, ultimately, who is the kind of seat of God? Us only. Reason is the reason for the God. So, reason is supreme, enlightenment. The question is basically asking how reason is supreme, giving rise to humanism. And so, if reason is supreme, obviously whatever is human, like for example, if reason is supreme, what happens? From the moral and social point of view, dignity becomes very important, human dignity. Why? Because if reason is the most important thing, anything that has reasons is more important than anything that does not have. So, human beings become supreme in itself, humanism. So, enlightenment, reason, kind of dignity you can say, leads to humanism. This is the line of thought the question is asking for you to write. No, you cannot write general things. Humanism is, human is, beyond everyone, human needs. Humanism is not materialism. It's basically, see, the concept came to counter the concept of God, superstitions and things. That's all. No. Point here is, they also did not say that God is that moral, ethical, personal God sitting there and punishing us. The philosophers that we study, very few, one or two philosophers think God in that way. Others take God in a different context as an energy. In that case, even Einstein says that there is energy. So, reasonable point is, if my reason allows me to have the idea of God, God is there. And Kant said that yes, reason allows. In fact, it is reason which makes you think of God through transcendental illusion. Three transcendental illusion, one illusion is ideals of reason, that is God. So transcendental illusion hai, that's where the importance of faith and religion comes into that. So God is something that is nomina, cannot be known by our ordinary things, but reason pushes us. So best way is to believe. So religion starts. So Kant was a religious person. After all the reason and all, he was not, see, to counter religion, or for that matter, to counter anything, there are two ways. One is just to react, ये मुझे पसंद ही नहीं है, rebel. Second is to give another narrative, proper theoretical, proper narrative. If they have some narrative, you also have your own proper standard narrative, irrespective of them. So because when you oppose, you still depend, but you replace, you don't depend them. Okay, this I am talking about normally what happened with religions. In India especially what happened, this is the thing. Though there was Charvak and all, but there were many philosophers who were not religious person in typical context, but did not denounce God also. They did not have hatred for the God and religion, which happened in Abrahamic system a lot. What atheist is? Atheism is some kind of, I don't believe in God. It's a negative statement. But this is the philosophy. See, philosophers are considered to be the most reasonable, rational persons of their times. And most of the philosophers have agreed upon some other concept of God. Why? Because the concept of God is not some God sitting there and sending something, Jadugar kind of God. It is there in us. Now from where it is there, why it is there, that is just there transcendental. Like, the concept of ignorance also that we talk about, we say that it is beginningless, means what? It is there, that's all. What is ignorance? Ignorance is that's because of the suffering, or suffering is because of the ignorance. So ignorance is there means the suffering is there, that's why ignorance is there. Why do you suffer? Now this example, this explanation to this has given to one of the existentialists, that is Kierkegaard, that there is always a difference between what you wish for and what it is. So there is always a despair, the concept of despair. There is always a difference between the ideal that you think of and the real. Now when I say real, I mean to say actual existing wala real. And that difference will always create tension. That tension will always push you to believe in something. That's exactly, Kant also said, that's exactly in a different words, Kierkegaard said. And in Indian, this stretching, this tension only we called as ignorance. So ignorance means suffering hai tabhi to ignorance hai. जरूरत ही नहीं होगी. But mind is a very interesting thing. Even if you have tension, you may feel that you don't have tension. That's a psychology thing. Let's not go into the psychology. So that's all the question's tone is. Okay. Yes.
Enlightened movements can we mention those existentialist and logical positivist philosophers?
But logical positivist is a very different thing. Like, they also did not focus on human per se. Their important, see, someone who focuses on human focuses on reason. For their reason is not important, verification is important. So that then it becomes very narrowing kind of thing. Even if it is reasonable, not reasonable, show me the thing. Positive, logical, positivist, positively appearing hona chahiye. Otherwise, nahi. But reason allows something for you to think which is not positively appearing in front of you, but still it is there. Buddhism, you can say Buddha proper himself till he died, you can say that he was positivist. In the sense, he said that suffering is there, no metaphysical question. But further Buddhists, so they got into the deep waters of metaphysics. Okay. Now this question is tricky. Okay, this is more like general question, but still we'll try to stick to philosophical thing. In the age of individualism, now individualism No, not negative term. Individualism is against collectivism. So the base of decision is individual or base of decision is collective. So individual, I will decide according to me, not according to around people saying around me. Like in villages, every decision, every step that I take was dependent on pados wale, okay, usi caste wale, basically caste. The question is about caste. So now here specifically we have to talk about how individualism impacted caste and how universal franchise impacted caste. Now what is universal franchise? Polity, this is paper 2. Vote. One person, one vote and one value in democracy. So body politic means overall, the body politic means the system, overall system, it's a general term. Now question is, basically individualism means now there is no impact of somebody else's decision, somebody else's life on your decisions, even if the person is so called from your caste and the community. That is individualism. So individualism to some extent is loosening caste. Yes or no? Though you are becoming selfish, that's okay. As you mentioned, the negative aspect of it is like self. But if you are individualistic means you will not think of your giving away, okay, renouncing your identity of caste and your collaboration of caste. So when I, like for example, if I want to associate professionally with you on you, I have two options, either you or you. Initially what used to happen, I used to associate with someone, most likely somebody that I am familiar with, means caste person. अरे और अपन आदमी है, छोड़ो उससे काम करेंगे. So individualism has broken that. Now because I have no bearing of caste issues, I will decide whoever is in this professional relations going to be more beneficial. I will join him or her. So caste is getting loosened by this thing. Universal franchise, one person, one vote. There are two aspects here. Political equality की तरफ है ये. You can, in this particular thing, you can mention as a conclusion, no, you can mention Ambedkar's statement, very famous. What was the statement? In fact, that would be really good conclusion if you can mention that. We are entering into the era of contradictions, he said in the parliament, wherein every human being, every Indian, every person has one vote and one vote has one value. So one person has one value. So on a political front, we have equality. But on the socio-economic front, we are still divided on the basis of privileges and burdens. Okay. So, and that still continues. So point is, this have impacted but not sufficient. And this body politic means overall the system of whole society, especially who will rule, democracy, elections. So the question is basically how the election pattern is changing from bulk voting on the basis of identity to the voting on the basis of my and my family's interests. That's the question. Here, as far as the caste is concerned, you somewhere quote Ambedkar. That what I mentioned about, like, but this is not sufficient, that's a criticism. So what you would write, this is good thing, this is good thing in the sense of reducing the impact of caste or role of caste in body politic. Body politic means in the society and in the election and in deciding who will rule, deciding the policies, the general social structure ek tarike se, but especially more focus on policies, like what way policies are decided. So individualism and universal franchise certainly helps, but not enough. That has been the seen in India. So in Indian context you can mention, or in the conclusion you can mention this, right? Question context, you got it? This question seems like more like a general, but then again this thing, how to not write general, think philosophically and write. Paper 1, it's very easy, we know exactly what the thinker Charvak or Nyaya Vaisesik or Heidegger, what exactly they said, we'll try to use it. Paper 2 is expected to be applying those way of thinking, not exact terms all the time, way of thinking. Philosophically, think substance, what is substance? So basically, what is the basic thing behind all this? Bring it out, think, what is caste? Okay, here especially now, you can, in introduction you can mention what caste is. Caste is a social structure, based on inequality and based on unequal distribution of privilege and burden. ये एक technical definition है. That privileges also, someone got more, someone got less, and burden, someone got more, someone got less. Okay, like that. Then, tricky as in forcing you to be vague while writing. Not that you don't know, you can write whole essay on this, you know this. If the previous question comes as essay, no, I am guaranteed you will write 5-10 pages about it. No issues to write about it, because it's very general thing. But that's exactly what we have to avoid here. Same problem here. Now this question as it is can come in GS4. Is corruption systemic issue or an ethical issue? Give your critical comments. Now you tell me, is corruption systemic issue or ethical issue?
Both aspects.
No, but I am asking you, like, you have to write it's one thing, good, not wrong answer. It is what? Yes, it is both. Want to say something? Yes, and you have to write both. First, you can introduce what corruption is. Deviation from, it's a crime, deviation from expected behavior and misuse of trust. Now, use of public property for private gain, it's a very PubAd kind of definition, very specific, because it's like corruption done by an administrator. But corruption for a philosophy student is a general thing. So any trust is misused for your gain is a corruption, na? Yes or no? Certainly will come down to administrative corruption more, but not just in administrative, politics is also corruption. I am taking money and voting for some particular party, corruption. Or somebody is giving me money and forcing me to, corruption. So point is, corruption is a systemic issue as far as the bureaucracy is concerned, absolutely no doubt about it. And okay, what do you mean by it is systemic? So very good. You can draw this. Only thing is you have to write core and periphery or manifestation. Anything. Only thing is you convey whatever you want to say. But here systemic means this, that the process of corruption is impersonal. You are DM, you go, someone else will come, corruption continues. The same office, so the office will get corrupt. Okay, so even if some other IAS officer comes, other IPS officer come, any other bureaucrat come, corruption still goes on. So that means people are corrupt not because, please try to understand this, people are corrupt, like the corruption in the system is happening not just because people are corrupt. Like for example, tomorrow you get selected and you have to fight not to be corrupt. Yes or no? In that case, what will happen? So ethically you are not corrupt, because you are still going with lot of zeal to work for the people, honesty and everything. And what happened? You reach there and people are kind of compelling you to do corruption. Okay, some things need to be kind of, is it systemic or is it ethical? So it is both, and you can draw the diagram, and you also need to mention that system is there, impersonal is there, but the whole system as a whole is run by humans. So the problem is the continuation of corruption is also happening because of the corrupt people. So that continuation is also happening because of what? Corrupt. So point here is, number one, corruption. Why? First define what corruption is, then you say the corruption is systemic, write some 3-4 points, then you write corruption is ethical, write 2-3 points, and then you maybe as a broad longer conclusion conclude like it is both, one is core, one is human centric, other is its manifestation, things like that. Question simple ही है, and you need to have some examples, and this example also, like in the system in which the processes of corruption, money transfer, okay, extraction of money, tendering process being faulty, it's already going, so new officer reaching there may not change it, able to change it. So it has become systemic, but on the other hand he can do some change. So in that context it is ethical also. Okay, so that context it has to be written. Now this is a classical debate, this we have discussed in the class. Complete liberty, basically they mean absolute liberty. I don't know why didn't they use absolute liberty word, because in technical philosophical world it is used absolute liberty. Okay, complete liberty may lead to inequality, okay, while order and restrictions may imply unnecessary loss of freedom. So basically क्या है, you have liberty and you have authority, or control. So extreme liberty means it will be like it is called license, okay, and here yes it will be restrictions means it is authority. So the question is, yes, this is a correct statement, but only thing is you have to discuss critically. So critically discuss में ये correct है, because complete अगर liberty है it leads to inequality. Why?
License to do anything, then you license to do anything.
Yes. So those who are already privileged will curb the liberty of someone else. Okay, so there is this famous statement called liberty actually means equal liberty. ये भी सवाल है अपने आप में. So liberty is nothing but equal liberty, otherwise it's not liberty. And yes, some restrictions is loss to freedom. There is this famous statement by not J.S. Mill, I forgot his name. I think I know the statement, I'm just slipping my mind. My right to swing my fist ends where other person's nose begins. So my liberty is only my liberty to, मतलब मेरा हवा में हाथ घुमाने का जो अधिकार है वो वही तक है जहां से दूसरे का नाक शुरू होता है, उसके आगे जाएंगे तो फिर उसकी लिबर्टी ब्रेक हो गई. So liberty always has to be with restrictions if you want to live in a society. Yes, restrictions, some restrictions, उसको बोलते हैं reasonable restrictions. This is a technical term. Reasonable restrictions. So restrictions, so in your answer also somewhere if you mention if the restrictions are reasonable, then there is no problem. Then it enhances the liberty. Okay, somebody having restrictions is it enhances its liberty. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so next move to the next. Let's move to the next. Oh, sorry. What are the moral justifications for the capital punishment? Again, seems like very general. What are the moral justifications for the capital punishment? Can you think of anything? Death punishment, फांसी. First of all, you mentioned that capital punishment is, death punishment where the person is given ultimate highest punishment, वगैरह वगैरह. And the two theories of punishment supported, that is deterrent and retributive. This support capital punishment. Reformative do not support capital punishment. इतना लिखा ठीक है. Then, now, what are the moral justifications? So, write moral justifications. Now, what are moral justifications?
Justice to the victim.
So, one is, if justice is equal to retribution, retribution is justice अगर concept है तभी जाके होगा ना वो, otherwise it will become उसको revenge. So we are not, retribution is not a revenge, retribution is the punishment. So it's a simple moral system according to deontological approach, right? Yes, retribution is deontological. Can't, that moral judgment में deontological आ गया. Even from the utility point of view, in the cases of terrorists and dreaded criminals, more likely that the people, if not given death punishment, may kill some more people in the future. So to avoid further killing, so future crime by the same criminals.
Bad guys deserve death. Bad guys deserve punishment.
That is retribution. Deserve means retribution. Then, second, setting an example. Setting an example or exemplary. Then, setting an example, what do they do? Setting an example, or when the punishment is made exemplary, it prevents further crime. Now, there is a criticism to this, even from the moral side of view. Human being is to be considered not means to some other end. Human being is to be considered end in itself. And if end in itself hai, so how can you kill someone to send some other message? End in itself means किसी और काम के लिए इंसान को यूज नहीं करना. इंसान अपने आप में एंड है. इंसान, the human being cannot be a stepping stone to something. Human being cannot be a means to something. So human being क्या है? End in itself. And this utilitarian point of view, death punishment is given to one person so that others get intimidated and do not do the crime. That is not end in itself. That is using this human being for some other means. That is going against. So it's criticism to this. So, and if you see that way from all moral point of view, it is, there is another moral this thing also, that if the state cannot give life, can state take away life? No. Then capital punishment is nothing but state sponsored murder, which is immoral. Criticism है. तो ये दोनों साइड उसमें लिखने हैं. सिंपल है वैसे तो. ये सिलेबस, this the data, relevant data is available in the notes. वो सोशियोलॉजी हो जाता फिर. That is the practical come. See, moral justification is the only question. What you are saying is right. If the question was only about capital punishment's utility, then there are other aspects to it. You know, we have not witnessed any reduction in crime only because we are having capital punishment. That's what you are saying. So capital punishment is not really impactful. But that's not a moral aspect of it, that is practical aspect of it. Morally, these things and things that are going against it, that is, if you cannot give life, how can you take away life? It's a very strong moral argument. Okay. Now, this is not very vague, very clear question, but not very easy also. So it's a typical question that we consider as tough. Not very tough, but thoda little bit. What arguments does Bodin give to contend that sovereignty must be absolute, perpetual, and undivided? So he gives this argument that sovereignty need to be what? Perpetual, then undivided and absolute. Basically, sovereignty is, no, this concept of sovereignty means sovereignty is state. Yes, correct. So what arguments do he give? So he says that if it is not sovereign, theoretical argument, if it is not state, state means sovereign, sovereign means state. If it is not sovereign, it's not state. Like what is state? It's like this. There are three, for example, there are three people in the world, you, me, and we three. And you two people generally quarrel a lot. So you decide me to be, in future, whenever issue happens, you people will come to me, right? Now, if the issues of the the problems and the conflicts and things has to be resolved by me, that is state, don't you think I need to have absolute power? Otherwise, if I decide no, you should sit here, you should sit here, to avoid the conflict only. But then you cannot say that no, I will not listen to you. Then you have conflicts. So when you decide state, state is for law and order and other things. So state need to have supreme authority, that is nobody above state. Now how the state is elected, that's another story. Whether it is a democratic state, theocratic state, monarchical state, that's another story. State means somebody who is ruling. State means somebody who has the last word. So somebody who has the last word need to be what? Supreme, absolute. Can there be two states? Can there be two prime ministers of one India? The moment you have two prime ministers, what will happen? Conflicts. And to avoid conflicts only we are sitting there. So the answer is like this. The very reason why state is formulated is to avoid conflict, have law and order and other things, or to have decisions. Now can there be two decisions? This is a very interesting thing. Can you take two decisions at a time? You may say, no, I take two decisions. No, like going here and eating. Not two decisions for the same thing at the same time. Can you say that, okay, I'll drink the water also and I'll not drink the water also? Decision is always, that's why you need unification. The moment you need unification, it should converge somewhere. Wherever the convergence happens, there cannot be anything beyond it. So that is the reason sovereignty should be absolute. And if sovereignty is absolute, but what does Bodin do? He comes up with some limitations along with sovereign. This is a paradox. He says natural restrictions and natural limitations that any state has. Okay, so divine limitations and natural limitations. So some rules, some laws, even state cannot violate. In that case, he comes up with the concept of limitation, divine law and natural law. That's what. So some things that God has decided, even the state cannot change. You know, some things that nature has decided, they cannot change. Like it is said that in British Parliament can do anything. So it said that British Parliament can make man a woman and can make woman a man. So much power that which is considered to be the highest policy making power that one can have. But that's not possible, isn't it? On paper it may happen. Okay. So divine law, so basically the thing is now, the first part you know why absolute and things like that. Bodin's conception of sovereignty compatible with social and political ideals of equality, justice and liberty. Yes. Why? He comes up with the concept of limitation. So though his sovereignty is absolute, he comes up with some limitations, and those limitations are divine law, okay, matter of conscience, morality, no, he called this divine law, but he is not beyond morality, conscience, natural law, the same thing, making man a woman, woman a man, you have to, whatever it is, you cannot go beyond, बारिश आ गई तो आ गई, मतलब state भी कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा, state cannot stop rain, like that, you know, state cannot suddenly, you know, instead of building a bridge, state cannot dry up the whole ocean, इसको सुखा दो पूरे ocean को, ऐसा नहीं कर सकते, natural order एक है. He also comes up with the concept of private property. He says that private property is good. This is the limitation. So private property cannot be taken away by the state. Private property being granted by law of nature. Everybody needs some property, is inviolable. Therefore, sovereign could not do anything with respect to private property. Okay, and sovereign, another thing is private property, and another limitation is promises. So if they have made promises to the people, sovereign is bound. Otherwise, sovereign will lose legitimacy. The moment legitimacy is lost, sovereignty is lost. Okay, and this is very much in sync with, especially in sync with liberty. Equality and justice doesn't seem to be putting extra, like equality in front of state, equality of the citizens, it is equal, but that is formal equality, but they don't talk much about formal, substantive and all that. But generally, because of the limitations, liberty is taken care to some extent. Otherwise, what will happen? It will become tyrannical, dictatorship authority. State will become dictators, all powerful, which he says not required and not is good. It's not good for the society. So the context of explaining sovereignty, then the limitations that he talked about, and because of the limitations. No, sorry. First, you have to mention as to why sovereign should be absolute, why sovereign should be this and that, because the basic meaning of sovereign is to be absolute.
Talking about political sovereignty.
There is nothing called political sovereignty. Sovereignty is sovereignty. What do you mean by political and non-political sovereignty? Okay, it is same. Next. Critically evaluate Gandhi's view on eradication of caste. इसको देखना है क्या? Notes में as it is दिए हुए हैं. With the same heading दिए हुए हैं. Only thing is, what is new thing that you may not see in the notes? Yes. What do you mean by that?
Whatever Gandhi said for that critical evidence, we can mention Ambedkar.
We have to. So first write Gandhi's thoughts and then Ambedkar's thoughts. Only thing is, while writing Ambedkar, you have to write as if it is criticism to Gandhi. And ये कहाँ से मिलेंगे? सीधा notes में है. कुछ उसमें ज़्यादा. Only thing is, this structure should be kept in mind. First, you talk about caste and eradication of caste. Then Gandhi's views on eradication of caste, and then Ambedkar's critique of Gandhi on eradication of caste. That's all. ठीक? Any doubt here? Details notes में है, आप देख लें. इसमें कुछ ज़्यादा है नहीं. Now, equity and equality. So, explain the difference between notion of equity and equality with reference to Marxian philosophy. Now, first you have to mention about equality as a socio introduction में, equality as a socio-political ideal, blah blah blah. Okay. Then you talk about equality is of two types. Equality as opportunity and equality of outcome. There is another thing called equality of, that is formal equality and substantive equality. Now, equality of opportunity means what? Everybody can fill the form of UPSC or any government employment. Equality of opportunity. किसी को कोई दिक्कत है? नहीं है. Equality of outcome means what? I will make sure that at least 50% should go to the lower caste, including OBCs. I will make sure, even if their cutoff goes down, no issues. OBCs, SC, STs, and accordingly, they should get proper representation. So, equality of outcome. समझ में आ रहा है? So, if everybody is allowed to take form and submit the form and sit for the examination आराम से, so it's equality of opportunity. But it's not that simple. There are nuanced approach. Like for example, equality of outcome. Equality of outcome in one particular aspect. Okay, this you need to mention later on. Equality of, by the way, outcome and substantive is what Marxists will talk about. They don't agree to this. These are similar. Substantive equality means real equality in the society, also in the socio-economic aspect. Substantive is about socio-economic. Formal is about political, legal political equality. यही सब है ओपी गोवा में सब कुछ दिया हुआ है. So, point is substantive, formal, substantive, that is socio-economical. So, these kind of equalities Marxist philosophy will support, propagate. Why? His concept of haves, have-nots and things like that. So, ultimately, result should be such that there is no equality. Marxism means egalitarianism. Egalitarianism means, yes, equality. Equality is the most important. So, in that case what happens? Opportunity. So, what happens? Yeah, so I was saying later on you will realize equality of result, equality of outcome in one particular aspect acts as equality of opportunity in larger view. समझ में आया मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? जैसे for example in the examination, as we already discussed, everybody is allowed to fill the form and sit for the examination and study is equality of opportunity. No reservation, no quota. But, and then reservation and quota is equality of outcome. But because you have reservation and quota, that particular community gets a better chance to avail the opportunity in other areas. And that is happening because of this concept called inherent inequalities. Yes. Oh, yeah, there is a word called circumstantial inequality or situational inequality, or there is this word called historical inequality. Historical is a better word. Or inherent की जगह existing inequality. So because existing inequalities are there, you cannot just treat them equal and expect everything to be perfect. As Aristotle said, equality is treating equals as equals and unequals as unequals. If you treat unequals as equals, it is inequality. Like somebody who has got privilege and somebody who has not got any privilege, you cannot them both treat together and expect that both will, perform same. That's why we generally talk about with respect to caste and gender in India to give some support in the sense of positive discrimination, in the sense of something else, some training, something, so that historical injustice, historical inequality is to some extent removed. वही चीजें यहाँ पे लिखनी है, ठीक? Level playing field. So because this is the thing, why level playing field? Because you can treat only equals as equals and unequals as unequals. You cannot treat unequals as equals, then it is inequality. Yes. Do you agree that economic development does not on its own lead to human development and social progress? Give reasons and justification for your answer. ऐसा नहीं लग रहा कि ऐसे ही है, but there are, yes, it will be. Okay, Badal, see, critique of egalitarianism, yes, but in the context that here equality is desirable, this context is not questionable. Everybody says, everybody accepts philosophically also that equality is desirable, but equality not means uniformity. Okay, so I don't think in the previous question criticism of egalitarianism in itself has some place. Question is about equality and equity. Only thing is both the equality and equity both sit on the concept and the acceptance of the desirability of equalness. सब equal होना चाहिए, इसमें किसी को doubt नहीं है. How? By treating them equal, by expecting equal outcome. ये debate है. So egalitarianism in as a theory का critique लिखना वहां पे point नहीं है, ठीक है. Now यहाँ पे economic development, human development and social progress. These three aspects connote three different things. Economic development means what? GDP, poverty reduction, okay, material aspects, right? Human development means what? Capacity approach of sane, health, education. No, that is there. Infrastructure is here. They are connected obviously. Infrastructure, okay, they are connected. And social progress means what? Equality, scientific equality, gender, caste, scientific temper, multiculturalism and all that, democratic values, secularism and all that. Now question, now you understood the question. Now if you, once you segregate, now you read, do you agree that sirf ye does not on its own lead to personal development, human development and social progress? So extra efforts are needed to do something like this. So we have so many examples of that. When we have economic system, we have Ministry of Finance, we have, but in addition to that, we have Ministry of Women and Child Welfare, we have Ministry of Scheduled Caste, we have Ministry of Scheduled Tribes, we have Ministry of Backward Areas, Development of Northeastern regions and things like that. So these are for something other than becoming rich as a country. So this is not on its own will not do, we need extra efforts, but somewhere you have to write, without this nothing can happen. So even redistribution of wealth also depends on wealth. If there is, it's like poor countries cannot be progressive countries. Only rich countries can be progressive countries. So last में वही लिखना है that certainly this is not a sufficient condition for these two, but this is a necessary condition for these two. No, this is like a typical wording used in philosophy. Necessary and sufficient. So this is not sufficient, but this is necessary. समझ में आया? So it's a necessary condition for these two. So human development and social progress. Economic development is a necessary condition for these two, if not sufficient condition. तो बिना इसके भी नहीं होगा. समझ में आया? कुछ डाउट है इसमें? See, there it becomes, that was in the previous question in detail. Here it is general, like society need to have the equality. Okay, society we need to have scientific temper. Here, as far as our syllabus is concerned, you can mention Amartya Sen as this person who focused on development, human development. And rest all the people who talk about equality and all, Aristotle se leke sab koi. Amartya Sen, it's better if you can mention, because in the book also specifically his name is given. They also have mentioned Nehru in some context, being progressive in the O.P. Gauba book, so we can mention that. Because, but he is not a thinker per se. But Nehru, Gandhi, Ambedkar, all, especially Indian context, we find mention. But the question is about whether only development confirms that these things will come. No, development only is not enough. इसका क्या करेंगे अभी? हाँ? नहीं, वो चेंज होता रहता है. Next, discuss gender as a cultural category as opposed to sex as a biological category. ये as it is question यूपीएससी में आ चुका है. किसी ने अगर PYQ लिखा होता, जैसे बोलते हैं sex is a biological fact, gender is a cultural construct. So basically sexual orientation or sex particularly is a biological thing. So biological thing means what? Basically about your body, hormones and things like that. But gender, yes. So like for example, as we all distribution of burdens and privileges, same things. What culture does? Who owns what? So women is considered to be not owning things. So society decide distribution. Society decides roles and responsibilities. Then division of labor, that is distribution, but yes, division of labor we can mention. Even your capacities, your place in the society, your status is decided by, okay, the education, who will get educated, who will not, decided by society. So these things creates gender, or these things creates what? Difference in the gender. It's otherwise sexual context is only biological, and which is very small aspect, but all other aspects we have discrimination is because of social construct. यही जो मैंने स्टेटमेंट में बोला ना कि सेक्स इज अ बायोलॉजिकल फैक्ट एंड जेंडर इज अ सोशल कंस्ट्रक्ट, ये 2010 या 11 में आ चुका है. एग्जैक्टली सेम क्वेश्चन है. एज अपोज्ड cultural category, as opposed, so it's a cultural category means what? It is created, constructed category, and उसके examples देने हैं. Naturally ऐसा नहीं है exactly. That's what they are also trying to kind of write. This is there in the notes as it is. Critically analyze the descriptive and normative aspects of multiculturalism. First, write what is multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is, yes, so basically multiculturalism is the kind of, there are two ways of defining it. It's a principle or it's a fact. ऐसा है, ऐसा होना चाहिए. But the groups of the people with different cultural identities, cultural norms, cultural practices, living together with peaceful coexistence. Solid ball. But there are different ways of looking at it. Somebody looks at it as descriptive point of view, means especially you have to mention multiculturalism briefly as to how after Second World War, after globalization, multiculturalism means many cultures are, because of economic interests and otherwise historical problems, historical forces, many different cultures are forced to stay together or come together and stay under one roof. New concepts of national state nations came up which had mixed things. Initially it used to be like particular religion will have particular state, particular people of the group of people having similar habits will stay together, but now it's not the case, globalization. So multiculturalism is becoming important, but there are two ways of looking at it. Descriptive multiculturalism is like, that's how society is. There are theories which says that, okay, society is like this, that's all, right? But there are normative aspects, means multiculturalism is not just the thing that it is, but it is also a thing that we should promote. So there is a criticism, there is a problem here. There is a criticism against normative term. Multiculturalism is implies a positive endorsement and acceptance, and even celebration of diversity, religious, cultural diversity, typically based on the right of different cultural group to respect and recognition and to allege benefits to the larger and moral. So basically this is moving towards universal morality, universal practices. Now there is a criticism to this particular thing, very strong criticism, like what happens then, your cultural and religious identities becomes very important, and cultural religious identities becoming very important is detrimental to especially women in any religion. So feminists have criticized the normative aspect of multiculturalism, that if you focus more on my culture and let it be the way I am, then what is the problem? The cultural norms of any society are mostly, especially religious, are medieval, and when the cultural norms, religious norms of medieval means they are anti-women. पहले के ज़माने में ऐसा होता था, हमारे रिलीजन में ऐसा होता है, तो obviously it will be against women. So there is a feminist critique of multiculturalism. I was expecting multiculturalism question from this feminist critique point of view this time, but anyway they have not asked, but obviously we have to write, and rest notes में descriptive normative अलग से हम notes में दिया हुआ है बाकायदा, तो उसको एक बार देख लें. Discuss propaganda. This is proper essay, very current affairs, proper essay. Discuss propaganda as a challenge to democratic form of government. Proper question is proper. Now here it is actually, it's a very small, I don't know why 20 mark, but it's okay. Maybe they ask you to, they expect you to write some kind of essay. What is democratic form of government? Democratic form of the government means the state is, or who is the state? Who is state is decided by collectively people at large with one vote, one this thing, equal this thing. Now, so democracy and democratic form of the government they are asking. They are not talking about democracy as way of life. Democratic form of the government means basically elections. There is no other method to go have till now proven where you are not voting and something else is happening but my wish is communicated. But the problem is, what is propaganda? Incomplete and one-sided information is propaganda. Now, incomplete and one-sided information means what? Yes. So, now the problem is when it comes to democratic form of the government, one person, one value, one vote. Now, but how would the person vote? How would the person vote? The person, you will vote. How would you vote? On what basis would you vote? Yes. But you will apply what? You will apply your reason. You will apply your reason on the basis of information available to you. But what if the information available to you is problematic and you don't know? So it's a challenge. So you think that the problem with propaganda is this, that you have wrong information or incomplete information and have a clear belief that you have a complete information. It is a propaganda. And it is done deliberately, that's why it is called propaganda. It's not happening just like that, it's not illusion. Other word for this is illusion, that I think it is, I am very strong about it, but it's wrong. I know it's a snake. I am very sure and I am running away, but actually it is not a snake. That is illusion. But when these things deliberately done with a proper ulterior motive, purpose by the political parties, then it becomes propaganda. Yes, but then there no need to. This is only for your understanding sake. I am saying illusion is different, where responsibility is on me, but propaganda is the who is creating the knowing fully well. That's what Descartes also said, na, God cannot be deceiver. God, the snake and rope, God is not doing. It's happening somewhere here. But here, propaganda machine, propaganda people, they are deceivers. The main problem here is why democratic form of the government, basic this thing is, when you vote on the basis of information available, and if information to you is coming to propaganda, means information is one-sided, incomplete and perhaps wrong, but it reaches to you in such a way that you think it is correct, it is not wrong. So what happens? You are tend to mistake and tend to choose, you tend to vote in a wrong direction. So it's a problem to the democratic system. That's the challenge. Now, because it is asking about challenge and 20 marks, to some extent you have to also mention about solutions. Jate. So what are the solutions for the propaganda? So here the solutions would be not much, because philosophy में solution की इतना हम बात वैसा करते नहीं है, but there would be administrative solutions like regulations and election, especially in the case of India. If you are giving examples, you need to give, because 20 marks again. So in case of India, like election commission can come into this thing, and people like the offices like Lokayukt, Lokpal, something like that you can mention. But in philosophy paper point of view, उसका ज़्यादा importance नहीं है. But because it's 20 marks and question is very straightforward, very difficult to fill in. Yes. Correct. And another thing is, like for example, you can write in the form of solution is, because it's a democratic government, why don't people themselves play active role in creating the right information? Because your role is not just in voting. Okay, you people go and give me information, I will vote accordingly. So that is also passive thinking, not a democratic, complete democracy. Democracy means somewhere you also need to play active part in gathering the information.
Why don't you collect your own data and decide?
There, like, start your own anti-propaganda YouTube channel, for example. You can mention about this. YouTube channel would be a very good example here. How WhatsApp messages would be example in this question. Obviously, no. What is the example of propaganda? Sir, in this question, we criticize negative rights of citizens. Which negative rights? Which question? Previous? No. Question number? I don't know, because maybe he would have typed it much before. I just looked at it now. I don't know. I don't find the relevance of what he is saying here. Anyway, maybe he will clarify. Anyway, so this is for this particular question, democratic form of the government and propaganda. So first mention what propaganda is, mention what democracy is, democratic system, how it works on the information and things like that, and what, okay, I don't know what you are talking about. Negative rights of if citizens, negative right if citizens means, can you please clarify the question, what you want to say? Propaganda is anybody telling you wrong information where you believe that it is right information, is propaganda.
For example, that is not relevant, but I'm just when there was election in Tamil Nadu, some local political leader promised that we will give you some land on moon. Our government is going to promise everybody some land on moon. That's
kind of fake news.
Fake
But fake news is part of propaganda. Fake news is not propaganda. Fake news is one of the instruments of propaganda. So propaganda means, see, you have some central message to communicate, and to communicate the central message, you do whatever, you communicate the same thing. So you distort the situations, you only tell one side information. So propaganda, for sure, yes, propaganda, the persuasion, the factual state is already decided, which is wrong, but it is already decided. So propaganda means something that is told to you which is not true, but it impacts you. Okay, so fake news is part of propaganda. This is also a good question, very philosophical kind of question. Does idea of unconditional rights necessarily lead to anarchy? Critically examine. Now, what is unconditional rights? And what is anarchy? No rule, no state, anarchy, nobody to rule you. So unconditional rights necessarily lead to anarchy. Now see, the point is, if you are talking about rights, it is presumed to be having state. It is okay, what is right? Right is what you get from and get protection for from state. If there is no state, there is no right. The very concept of right is state dependent. So unconditional right means what? State is giving you right without any conditions.
What about natural rights?
Even natural rights also, now there are debates, but natural rights is something that state cannot take away. But right is something that state only give it to you. So it's like allowance from state side. State can take away that right, not an issue. State should not take, that's another story. But right is something, basically right is what? Your instrument to exercise your freedom, equality and other things. So when you say rights, this particular thing leading clear existence of the state. So unconditional right means what? This rights not dependent on any conditions, authority. Okay, and this necessarily lead to anarchy. Now, anarchism is a proper concept in our syllabus where there is no state. So statelessness, ek tarike se. So is anarchy logical conclusion of unconditional right? To some extent, yes. But initially, like everybody is doing whatever they think. Then, but the problem is then, it's not just anarchy. Anarchy as a concept, no rule is okay. But there will be what? There will be problem of law and order issues and chaos. So in that case, again the importance of state will increase. So logically it may look like that, but even in the anarchy, unless there is control over rights, because here also that thing that we discussed about, my right to swing my fist ends where somebody else's nose begins. If that is not followed, then nobody is having any right. So like for example, unconditional right means what? I will do whatever I want to do. That's not unconditional right. If that's the case, then what about your right? and that is not anarchy. Anarchy is something else. Anarchy is considered to be in a positive context. Anarchy themselves promote that state is not there, we are managing ourselves. There is no one person sitting at the supreme, we are managing ourselves. So as see, the thing is, anarchy is possible in a smaller groups. You know, we are a group of 10-15 people, no need to appoint one person who will rule us. हम एक दूसरे में ट्रस्ट में बात करके मैनेज कर देते. But when system becomes complex, okay, what happens? State comes into picture. So basically, first of all, unconditional rights, that too without state, no right is possible. There is nothing called unconditional right, because if it is unconditional, then somebody else's right is gone, so right is not there. And hence anarchy in itself is a different concept, okay, where there is no state, but unconditional right all the more require presence of state, because then when the chaos starts, all the more state becomes very important. But prima facie it looks like that unconditional right leads to anarchy. ठीक है? Sir, in this question we should favor state like Hegel does. How will introduce this question? Yes, you can say, but question is not about state versus anarchy. Question is about unconditional rights leading to anarchy or not logically. In introduction here you mention about rights and anarchy as an introduction, like, you know, rights is something that state provides, okay, in response to the allegiance from the citizen, and anarchy is the place where statelessness, that there is no someone who is considered to be authority to rule over people. इन ये दोनों कंसेप्ट कंटेक्स्ट से आप इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं. बाकी जो चीजें हमने बात की, दैट यू कैन ऐड. This is a very interesting question. Are monarchy and theocracy necessarily related? Discuss with the reference to the theory of divine right. See, all the concepts of monarchy, no, UK's monarchy is always an exception. अभी रानी मर गई ना, तो वो monarchy means what? Rule of one, and rule of one what? One person, king, queen, and mostly what it is hereditary, and they are not necessarily related, because theocracy is rule of religion. So theocracy and monarchy are not necessarily related, but they are practically many places they are related. Theocracy means what? Theocracy is not ruled by a godman sitting. God PM की सीट पे नहीं बैठता. The rules followed by the society are rules of religion, जैसे शरिया. So if IPC इंडियन पिनल कोड की जगह शरिया है, तो वो थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट हो गया टू सम एक्सटेंट. पाकिस्तान में पूरा शरिया नहीं है, सऊदी अरेबिया है, and there also king is there, but they are not necessary. But yes, they are in practical instances it has seen that they have been together, basically because of the concept of divine right. Now what is concept of divine right? God's mandate. Yes, so mandate given by God, to whom? To the king. So mandate given by the God to rule to the king, so it's a divine right, and it has been almost every, especially medieval, now though we don't have monarchies much, but medieval system of state, monarchies had this concept in them, that the king is considered to be avatar of God. So that concept that is there, but not necessarily, right? So the answer to this is, like, first write about what monarchy is, what theocracy is, then specific features of monarchy and theocracy, then the interrelations between them, and then give you examples of many, Mughal monarchy and Vatican City also. Vatican City is very different. It's not a monarchy. It's a proper theocratic state. Okay, run by the church, Pope only. So there it is not monarchy in that way. That's why Vatican is not called monarchy. It is not even theocratic. It is more than theocratic state. It's a rule by the religious leadership only. Okay. And the okay, and you should mention the concept of divine right. Divine right, that is right, God's mandate for the king. So most of the kings and queens have been using this. Okay, even the tribal leader of Birsa Munda also claimed that I am a avatar of the whatever god they had. Okay, like that. वो कैसे होगा? Absolutely not possible. बहुत ज़्यादा. No, there is no superstition. Why? There is this word called, okay, this is ecclesiastical. This is what? Ecclesiati. That is ruled by the Pope only, not by, beyond theocracy. Theocracy is the rule book is of the government and some people are ruling it. Okay. What you are saying? What was you saying?
People believe in this divine concept.
That is medieval, no? Now, why do you believe? That's okay. No, it's not theocratic. Vatican City is not theocratic, neither it is monarchy. It is theocratic in a different way, yes, but it is beyond theocracy. It is rule of religion and rule by church. The church only is sitting in the position of decision making. Okay. Now, this is religion. Very easy. Philosophy of religion is like, this is literally, morning we did this question. This is first time this has happened, that paper 1 also the same question came and paper 2 also same question came. Do you remember? And same question, they asked, write note on Spinoza's concept of substance. Here they are saying, this I was talking about, see. Write an essay on Spinoza's notion of God. Now Spinoza's notion of God and Spinoza's notion of substance is the same thing. Pantheism. So that, yeah, so all is God, God is all. The point is, and his attributes. We are his attributes. There are 2 attributes of God, thought and extension. But ultimately it is, reality is only one, having 2 attributes. And here in this paper, certainly you need to write this, only 10 marks, and certainly you need to mention about Brahm, because Brahm is also God in that way, right? Straightforward question hai, from the book also, from everywhere. Anything? But the point is, this is literally a repeat. Only thing is, there you will talk in a metaphysical terminology. Here you will talk in the religious terminology, as faith, reason, God, intoxicated mystic. These words you should be used here.
Freedom of
No, no, no. Here it is not. That is metaphysics. God hai bas, that's it. This question we had asked in the test in a different way. Can one have morality without religion, but not religion without morality? One can have morality without religion, that is secular morality, but or atheistic morality, but not religion without morality. Yes, and anyway they are asking you to discuss. So this statement is correct as it is. So you have to mention what morality is first. You have to mention what religion is. And you give examples of no example in the world having religion without morality. Yes. Now, the details of the morality may change, but the very concept of morality, that I am telling you this because this is right thing to do. Not, they will not say that no, I know it is wrong but I will do it. Then it is not religion. Yes, getting the point? Like for example, if Quran is saying about something about how women should behave and women should not behave like that, for example, they should do this, maan ke chalo. The Quran is not saying because Quran thinks that it is wrong thing to do, though today we may think, it is not that way, but the Quran is saying so that because it is moral thing to do according to Quran. Caste system, if any religion is saying that caste is good, okay, so they are saying because that is the good thing according to them, otherwise anarth ho jayega, means what, something wrong will happen. So religion without morality is not possible. Morality without religion is possible. That's what is happening. Secular morality, atheistic morality, universal morality like honesty, integrity, the concept of dignity. Now here, morality without religion, you should talk about Kant, because Kant's morality is categorical, imperative, and that is coming from human reason, not some god or some scripture. Yes, next देखते हैं. See, we discussed in the morning only question. So that immortality and rebirth. Question is very critically examined with reference to Buddhism. Same again repeat hua hai question. It's an issue. Every year they want to discuss this, that how can Buddhism talk about rebirth when Buddhism talk about does not accept immortality of soul. So if soul is not immortal, whose rebirth? It's a big philosophical issue. Literally every second year they will ask about this. Even in a different format they will ask, like, how Buddhism, seed to tree, tree to seed. While explaining this is a rebirth according to Buddhism, but there is no transmigration of soul, because immortality means what? Survival of the soul after death, physical death. But Buddhism says that there is nothing like soul. There are panchaskandha, chala jata hai. Where is the soul then? This is a very big issue that there, and morning only we discussed the same answer. Only thing is there it is metaphysical, here it is in the sense of religion, and here we have to give critically exam with reference to Buddhism hai, because Buddhism disagrees this. So first you have to establish who all agrees this, then Buddhism's criticism, in the sense Buddhism problems, challenges, objections to it, and criticism of Buddhism. All the three things you need to write. Got it? Repeat, literally 2 questions repeat, paper 1, paper 2, Spinoza and Buddhism. Only thing is, as I said, terminology should be, there it is metaphysical, here it is religious. That's why I said paper 2 is very easy. Religion. Is the notion of faith indispensable for the idea of revelation? Critically comment. Now this, what is the meaning of the question? Revelation. The question is coming from the third chapter, that is religious, third or fourth chapter, religious experience. So, and faith, reason, revelation and faith, sorry, reason, revelation and faith. So that, if you remember, the question is like this: when revelation comes, it is about mystical experience. When mystical experience comes, the inherent feature of mystical experience is ineffability. Ineffability means not able to express in words, basically not able to express in logic, basically not able to express in such a way that somebody logically gets convinced. But you want others to follow it. Can you follow something without believing in it? So how to believe something that is not logically convincing? How? That's all. This what exactly you have to write. So first revelation, revelation is coming from mystical, this thing, mystical means ineffability, ineffability means to convince you need faith. But that doesn't mean it's only faith, because to communicate faith again you use reason. Philosophical reasoning is required to communicate even faith. Okay? Now, explain the difference between cognitivist and non-cognitivist approaches to the religious language with reference to the statement God exists. अभी ये भी सवाल हमने, cognitivist, non-cognitivist means like this: is religious language cognitivist? Means what? Making sense to logic, making some sense to cognition is cognitive. Non-cognitive means emotional, okay, inspirational, logic नहीं है, like don't worry हो जाएगा, कैसे हो जाएगा, नहीं हो जाए, and you follow it like oh my god हो जाएगा. You know, these are not cognitive statements, these are emotional appeals. Okay, so there are two approaches to the religious language. What, there are some cognitivists, they say that religious language is making sense to you. Non-cognitivists say that no, they are not making sense, they are appealing to you. So religious language has some other purpose to serve than to convince you logically. And syllabus ka point ही है cognitivist, non-cognitivist as it is. Explain the difference, you have to write the difference, one is this, one is, other is not. And both approaches to the religious language with respect. No, with respect to the statement means what? This you have to take statement as an example while writing whatever arguments they are talking about. You know, it is not logically appealing or it is not verifiable. Cognitivists say that the statements, non-cognitivists say that, see, both, they are not denying what we can say religious statements, they are not denouncing it, they are saying there are different approaches to look at it. So cognitivists say that they are very well trying to be convincing to you, you are not able to understand, that's another story. So the basic, any language you are talking about, language has to be logical, otherwise people will not agree. But non-cognitivists say that no, it's not just logical, the language is rather than more than logical, it is emotionally and otherwise appealing, inspiring. This word that they used is inspiring, solacing, relieving language, not logical. So there is a purpose of that language which is to give solace, to give relief, to give things. If that's the case, obviously it is non-cognitivist. And yes, this particular debate in the notes also clearly you can find. Now, present the critical exposition of different arguments offered by Thomas Aquinas to prove the existence of God, also known as 5 ways. Which one of them do you find philosophically most interesting? Give reasons to support your answer. So Thomas Aquinas, he came up with the concept of different arguments for. So basically, what all arguments do you know? for the existence of God, because ultimately similar kind of arguments people will give.
Ontological, teleological, moral, and the religion are more for religion. Cosmological.
Yes, but here this fellow comes up with slight different of that some teleological and all is same. One thing is the same argument that he Aristotle gives, that is motion, that is prime mover. So everything is moving and energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So who gave the initial energy? Who gave the initial push? Then everything started moving, and now you know nothing is stopping. Everything is moving, and even if something is stopping, it's not actually stopping, it is creating some impact. Yes or no? So everything is moving. So motion. So evidence of motion, prime mover. This is one argument. समझ में आया? Prime mover. Then efficient cause. What is efficient cause? Somebody sat and very efficiently created the world. Creator. Efficient cause is creator argument. Third is necessary being. Means all are contingent things. Everything is coming and going. Everything is pud and gala. Everything is vinashi, vikari. That means there is something which is avinashi, avikari. Necessary being means it will not go away. If everything is destroying, vanishing, destroying, getting destroyed, so that means there is something which never gets destroyed. Necessary being, God hai. Huh? Everything has some level of perfection. Now this argument is Plato's idea. Everything is close to perfection, but not perfect. Nothing is perfect, but close to perfection. Yes or no? Like copy, Plato ka. That means there is something who is already perfect. God. So if everything is close to perfection means there is already something which is already perfect. Now, he said that creator, that is somebody who sat, and created the world. But, okay, चलो, somebody, दूसरा argument ये है कि अगर चलो create नहीं किया तो design तो किया है. So, if not the efficient cause, if not, or in addition to that for that matter, everything is functioning well means there is really somebody who is efficiently created this world. And something is functioning so well means there is something great designer behind this, not just implementer but designer also. That is also God. यही लिखना है और आपको ये बताना है कि कौन सा आपको सही लग रहा है. फिलोसॉफिकली इंटरेस्टिंग, ये ऐसे पहले बार पूछा है. बताओ आपको कौन सा लग रहा है फिलोसॉफी मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग, यही लिखना है इधर. बेसिकली ये 5 तो लिखनी है, उसके बाद आपको बताना है कि फिलोसॉफिकली इंटरेस्टिंग कौन सा लग रहा है. कौन सा लग रहा है? डिजाइन, तो वो लिखो, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं, कोई भी लिख सकते हैं. मुझे वो कंटिंजेंट वाला लग रहा है, मुझे लग रहा है. वैसे आर्गुमेंट सभी सेम ही है, बट फिलोसॉफिकली इंटरेस्टिंग एज इन एवरीथिंग, it is proof, it is like proven that everything, or even perfection is also good. Everything is imperfect means there is something perfect. No, everything is contingent means there is something necessary. Contingent, you understand? कुछ टाइम के लिए, बाद में नहीं है, वो कंटिंजेंट होता है. थोड़े दिन के लिए. परमानेंट जो नहीं है वो कंटिंजेंट है. हाँ, ब्रह्म, या यू कैन से, बट बेस्ट अगेन शंकर ने भी वहां पे वो अलग कंटेक्स्ट में लिया है कि वो जगत मिथ्या ही है, तो वो है ही नहीं. कंटिंजेंट कंटिंजेंट की बात ही नहीं है, वो है ही नहीं. ठीक है, तो ऑल माइटी ऑल पावरफुल इसका. सो इसमें ये चीजें 5 एक्सप्लेन करनी है, बाद में एक को लेके व्हाई फिलोसॉफिकली इंटरेस्टिंग वो भी लिखना है ना. यू हैव टू गिव रीजंस टू सपोर्ट योर आंसर. ठीक है, तो वो वहां पे व्हाई डू यू थिंक it is most interesting means you have to mention that somewhere others have some criticism or more criticism than this argument. So that's why it is philosophically interesting to me. ये वहां पे आपको लिखना है. Straightforward question or no? Even somebody who has not studied paper 2, paper 1 as it is, only thing is wording should be. Now, have you noticed? Why? यहाँ पे it is about religious aspect. Okay, actually, मतलब every year they don't follow this, but this is correct, very correct. When it is metaphysical, philosophical discussion, it is, he is a philosopher, Mr. Ramanuj, because we are looking him as a philosopher. But here we are looking him as an acharya, because religion, the word religion, system of religion should have these kind of words like that. Not every year they do it. Shankar, they are not using Shankaracharya all the time in the paper 2. Paper 1 they will never use. Paper 1 they will never use Shankaracharya, Shankar. But here they should use Shankaracharya. I don't know, every time so they don't use, right? Right?
Professor, paper 1 is a professor.
Yes, that's why. Like I'll tell, like you see, no, I'm not going to explain anything. It's straightforward question. Ishwar, organic, apratikashiddhi, identity and difference both. You are part, you are not whole, and that too not mechanical but organic. Worship is the thing that you reach, like that. Okay, one more thing I'll show you in the same context. See, not Thomas Aquinas, Saint Thomas Aquinas. Religion paper hai. If it was about paper 1, they will just say Aquinas. So in that context, maybe this year they would have, because this had happened one time, once, no, in the philosophy paper, they had used the word Paticca Samuppad, which is a Pali word, which is exactly the word Buddha had mentioned in his philosophy. They did not use Pratitya Samutpad or Khanikvad, not Kshanikvad. So that is because exactly going closer to what it is actually. If God is absolute creator, then responsibility of the evil cannot belong to the human agent. Critically examine. This question is coming from the topic problem of evil. Now, how would you write the answer? You have to critically examine something. Means what? If the God is absolute creator, okay, then the responsibility of the evil cannot belong to the human. So this instrumentalist view, free willist view is not able to, like, criticism to these two views will be the answer. So answer to this question is nothing but, now we have to actually critically examine. So first you have to say that it's not God. If the God is absolute creator, then the responsibility of the, because he only is created, then why did he create evil at all if he was a great creator? So the typical problem, if you see, if there is God is omnipotent, and if God is omniscient also, and God is all merciful, मतलब God का दिल भी अच्छा है और दिमाग में अच्छा है, तो फिर evil बनाया क्यों? If he had all the capacity and उसका दिल भी अच्छा है, तो उसने खराब चीजें बनाई क्यों? या तो फिर उसका दिल खराब है, या तो उसकी कैपेसिटी ही नहीं है। दिल तो अच्छा था लेकिन उसकी कैपेसिटी नहीं है कि पूरा परफेक्ट दुनिया बनाए। दिस इज फर्स्ट आर्गुमेंट दैट यू विल राइट। दिस इज व्हाट एग्जैक्टली द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज सेइंग। यू गिव एक्सप्लेनेशन। दिस इज एग्जैक्टली दिस इज द इश्यू ऑफ प्रॉब्लम ऑफ इविल। दिस इज कॉल्ड प्रॉब्लम ऑफ इविल। दिस टर्म फिलोसफी पेपर में सिलेबस भी यही है। देन यू हैव टू क्रिटिसाइज दिस। No. God created. It's not evil. Actually, evil is not evil. It's just that your illusion. Whatever you call evil is just mistaking, sleeping your or moving your vision, your focus from God to something else. You see evil. आप ध्यान ही God पे दो ना. Evil है ही नहीं. Like that arguments are there. Free willist argument and instrumentalist argument. Like God ने evil plant किया है so that you improve. पूरा फ्लावर ही फ्लावर होते तो फिर आप चेन कर मतलब चिल रहते. थोड़ा जिंदगी में काटे हो तभी तो सीखे हैं. So the instrumentalist view is there is a purpose, there is a teleology, there is a utility of why evil is there so that you improve in your life. So वो दोनों हैं, नोट्स में दोनों लिखे हुए हैं. लॉ ऑफ कर्मा इसमें उस कंटेक्स्ट में नहीं आएगा बिकॉज लॉ ऑफ कर्मा, see the problem with law of karma is the philosophies, the religions that accept law of karma, they don't accept God the way Abrahamic religions accept. So problem of evil concept is not much applicable to Indian context because already we say law of karma is the highest. Even Nyaya Vaisheshik will say that law of karma is beyond God or equal to God. Okay, because here only Ramanuj and Dvaitva, this Madhva, their God is very typical God of Abrahamic religion. God will sit there and God will punish you and reward you like that. Otherwise our God, especially law of karma, Jainism, Buddhism, there is no God only. This problem has to be answered basically by Christianity and Islam and other Judaism and other Abrahamic traditions, because that is very clear book oriented religions. An unquestioned acceptance of only one absolute truth will inevitably result in religious exclusivism. This was the question asked in test number 8 for our test series, but in a different way. How? I had asked that Abrahamic religions or monotheistic religions are invariably the exclusivistic religions. Now, unquestionable acceptance of only absolute truth is monotheism. Yes? And my question was monotheistic religion invariably result in religious exclusivism. Same question. Only thing is this thing means monotheism. Now monotheism means what? There is only one God. That means there is no other God. So an unquestionable acceptance of only one absolute truth obviously lead to exclusivism. You give examples of any Abrahamic religions, that is the case. The issue of absolute truth. Now here as a criticism you have to write, or as a alternative model you have to write about Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda. So the concept of religion is cultural, social. Truth is one, religions are many. Truth is one, paths are many. Like what Gita in Bhagavan Krishna in Gita says, that is also part of our syllabus. That in whatever way, on whichever way you worship, it reaches me. Don't worry. He is not saying you should worship this entity in this format only, it will reach me. Then it is exclusive religion. He says, I am the same person. Krishna says, you worship whatever way you want to worship. It will reach me, don't worry. Or there is another example Vivekananda gives. You can mention exactly like this. Vivekananda gives example. Like all the rivers, or 2, 3 rivers, 4 rivers with a different path, ultimately reaches to Bay of Bengal. Be it Ganga or be it Kaveri, ultimately both reaches to Bay of Bengal. But what Kaveri brings it with itself and Ganga brings it with itself is different thing. But ultimately they are reaching to the same truth. ये example भी दे सकते हैं, because Ganga is North India, Kaveri is South India, Godavari is Central India. You can mention that, Mahanadi, like that. तो example खुद विवेकानंद ने भी वो example दिया है. World is what? God. The truth is one. The ways to reach it might be different. So ways does not change truth. If you want to go to the place where somewhere you go like this, someone who like this, somebody who goes like this, ultimately you reach the same place. So why to worry? You will have some different experience, you will share, you will have some different experience, you will share. So that is called inclusivistic. Not even inclusivistic religions, they are like non-monotheistic, polytheistic to some extent. Okay, so यहाँ पे when I had mentioned in the foundation class previous batch, absolute truth whenever question comes always mention about Indian model. अद्वैत है लेकिन बाकी बहुत सारे गॉड हैं, अल्टीमेटली अद्वैत तो है ही बट बहुत सारे गॉड भी हैं. So it's not having many god and having one god is not incompatible with each other as far as India is concerned. It's the best model. लिखो क्योंकि हम इंडिया में ही हैं. जैनिज्म डिफरेंट, जैनिज्म में गॉड ही नहीं है तो क्या एग्जांपल दो? रिलीजियस इंक्लूसिव गॉड, मुद्दा एब्सोल्यूट ट्रूथ का है. You cannot say religious inclusivism. There that is acceptance is different. Inclusivism, we are talking about not even inclusivism. What you are saying is different words for the same thing. So I no need to even include you. You are same. Advait, that's why oneness ही है वो. ठीक है? Is it possible to have an idea of liberation without the conception of a real agent? In this context, discuss the difference between Advaita and Vishishtadvaita system of thought. What is real agent? No. Is it possible to have an idea of liberation without the conception of a real agent? सुप्रीम रियलिटी का कंसेप्शन ही नहीं है तो लिबरेशन पॉसिबल है क्या? इन दिस कंटेक्स्ट डिस्कस द डिफरेंस बिटवीन अद्वैत एंड विशिष्ट अद्वैत. नाउ हियर डिफरेंस इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ब्रह्म एंड ईश्वर. दैट्स द क्वेश्चन इज आस्किंग. निर्गुण एंड सगुण इज व्हाट दे आर आस्किंग. विथ सगुण इज लिबरेशन पॉसिबल, विथ निर्गुण लिबरेशन पॉसिबल. If you have conception of real agent means you have conception of sagun. Something is there. Because then Brahm becomes something like nothingness. So first you have to mention about Advaitvad, then you have to mention about criticism by Ramanuj. Now here Vishishtadvaitvad talking about this becomes too vague or rather close to nothingness of Buddhism, that what Shankaracharya talked about. So but the question is exactly like this. Do you think, because even Shankaracharya later on when he develops his system, he had to create some real agents, no? Otherwise, how to imagine Brahm? Brahm is nothing. But when you really want to have, this is like idea of liberation, by the way. So, real agent के बिना idea हो सकता है क्या? नहीं हो सकता. But this is what you have to mention. But Advaita का experience कहीं ना कहीं आपको mention करना है. That in Advaita, the concepts of liberation is also explained without. Brahm is there, but Brahm is Nirgun. तो सगुण निर्गुण का कंटेक्स्ट मेंशन करके उसकी बात करनी है. थोड़ा सा वैसा है, ज्यादा मतलब ज्यादा भी ट्रिकी नहीं है बट थोड़ा सा अलग है. ठीक है. डिस्कस द नेचर एंड वैरायटी ऑफ रिलीजियस एक्सपीरियंस एज प्रेजेंटेड विलियम जेम्स. सीधा नोट से आया हुआ है. विलियम जेम्स इज द थिंकर हु टॉक्ड अबाउट नेचर एंड वैरायटी ऑफ रिलीजियस एक्सपीरियंस. That we talked about syllabus का, as in you take out the notes. कितना मार्क? 15. हाँ, मुझे लगा 20 का है. That talked about nature. What are the nature? Spontaneity, temporality, ineffability, regenerative aspect. And then what are the varieties? Mystical experience के varieties क्या है? Mystical, religious, okay, 4 टाइप्स. वो एक के बाद एक मेंशन करने, लेकिन कुछ उसमें देयर इज नो, जस्ट डिस्कस. दिस इज लाइक अ स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन एज इट इज. ओके, इस पर ये देख लीजिए, नोट में मिल जाएगा. डिस्कस द मेन पॉइंट्स ऑफ डिस्टिंक्शन बिटवीन प्रायरी एंड अप्रायरी एंड अपोस्टरी. ओके, यहाँ पे अ रह गया. A priori and a posteriori arguments for the existence of God. Which one, according to you, should be the preferred over the other? Give reasons. Which, according to you, आ गया फिर से. A priori and a posteriori means?
A priori means intuitive,
Yes.
and a posteriori based on experience.
Yes, perfect. So a priori मतलब किसका? And a posteriori? यहाँ पे वो डेकार्ट का मेंशन करेंगे आप, गॉड. कांट का भी तो अप्रायरी है, बट कांट का क्या है, ट्रांसेंडेंटल इल्यूजन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. अपोस्टेरियर मतलब क्या है? गॉड ऑफ रिलीजन, गॉड ऑफ क्रिश्चियनिटी, गॉड ऑफ, ओके, देन गॉड ऑफ मिस्टिसिज्म. दिस इज एक्सपीरियंस बेस्ड, नो? So which, okay, and then which you prefer over the other? Whichever you can mention anything. That's okay. What would you write? No, basically question is about which one according to you should be preferred over the other. You are saying no, nothing should be preferred. No, tell me, preferred doesn't mean that other is not working. A priori लिखना better है because we are philosophy students. So we are not mystics or religious persons. So Descartes और Kant का ही. So basically Kant का और Descartes का लिखिए. Kant का better. ये करिए. Even Hegel also you can mention here. Hegel is also, absolute idea is what? Rational, not based on any experience. Right? And ये concepts तो आपको पता ही है. And religion का भी God आपको पता ही है. You know, based on experience of something grandness, some miracle or something, or some mystical experiences. Rather than that, you go ahead with philosophy wala, a priori. Discuss the nature and soul of bondage. This is the perhaps पिछले 4 साल में सबसे direct question आया हुआ है. Soul, bondage according to Jainism. मतलब इतना आसान question तो हम, you know, this much easy question we don't even ask in our daily test, daily answer writing, not even test, for the foundation batch. I think you would have answered same question in, I don't remember I had asked you, but maybe some other previous batch I would have asked, because that question is about whatever we had discussed yesterday. I asked you and ask you to write in the class only. I'm sure this question would have been already asked. Okay, write the process of bondage and liberation according to Jainism. Now here, liberation you no need to mention much. You have to talk about the nature. And bondage. Bondage means you have to talk about the process of yoga. That is this Jiva and Pudgala coming together. This particular process, this is the proper process is there. That you need to mention. Liberation you can mention in the conclusion. This also happening first time that they are asked about bondage but not about liberation. That also doesn't happen much, right? Okay, इसमें कुछ डाउट नहीं, वो देख लीजिए आपको समझ में आएगा. Even somebody has done Indian and not even touched paper 2 also will be able to write the answer to this. Yes? Only thing is Indian revise होना चाहिए. Last question. See, you Shankara, not Shankaracharya. वो रामानुज को चार्य कर दिया, शंकर को let us see, रुको. नहीं, कभी कभी ये होता है कि the one who typed the thing also might have made a mistake, ना? No, शंकर ही है. Critically examine idea of Brahm. Now critically examine means first you need to have what it is. Okay, critically examine idea of Brahm in otherwise philosophy of Shankara. Does Shankara concept of Brahm leave room for theism? This we have discussed in the class of the Shankaracharya. Because theism is there in Vishishtadvaitvad. Obviously Ishwar is there. What about Brahm? So it It is called super theism. So Shankar was a super theist. We discussed this. व्यवहारिक पे theism ही चलेगा. You are right. Yes. So question is about, talk about Brahm, talk about Shankar at that particular level, then talk about criticism of critically, no, even if it is not critically, but obviously you have to talk about Ramanuj to some extent, and how at that level, that is Vyavaharik level, Ramanujan, whatever Ramanujan says is what Shankaracharya also accepts. But Shankaracharya says that's not end. You know, ultimately वो नहीं है, ultimately वो है, ये transitory phase है. Ramanuja says this is ultimate in itself. That's the thing. Okay. Paper second was easy, yes. Paper one, that too, Western was little more tricky. Indian was not that tricky. But see, as I was talking about the competitiveness issue, like peculiarity of competitive examination is that it is, if it is easy, it is easy for all, because we all generally prepare in the same line. No, it's not that we suddenly have some extra knowledge coming somewhere from somewhere. So it is about, you know, if it is about this easy, if it is about easy, then it is easy for all. If it is about tough, then it is tough for all. Okay. So thank you very much. If you have any doubt, we can discuss later, and I hope this particular thing will help you at least to have an idea as to what and how paper come. Is even if somebody has not studied philosophy or just started studying philosophy, if they have gone through this 1 or 2 hours, around 2 hours only, not more than that. So certainly it will help to at least have a grasp. I did not discuss in detail point by point, obviously that's not expected, but I expect. And yes, another thing that why I came up with this particular video is to kind of emphasize, highlight again and again the importance of simple daily writing, because you never know which question will come. And why? Because the topics are very limited. So very high chance, see, this is for sure, at least one question per paper will be from previous year questions. Every year by rule. You will say how can that be possible? It is. Only thing is little bit tweaking here and there, the masala is same. You know what to write. Only change little bit according to the need of the question, you will be able to write it. That's why answer writing, even if it is waste, it is very good thing. Otherwise पढ़ के वैसे भी थक जाते हैं. So why don't you write? Okay. So all the best to all those who are preparing. Thank you very much.